Thanks, Adam. Look, I'll take the compliment. Not too sure about the name, but I'll take the compliment. A reminder now for everybody, just like Adam said, with just an hour left, the playstyles might get shooken up a little bit here, as this is similar to the qualifying, well, earlier qualifying round formats where you have 10 matches to be played out during a time frame. And now, as that time frame gets shorter and shorter, the players might have some spare matches and they might want to play extra aggressive here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more action in the upcoming matches.
Yeah, and just kind of talk about, there's two thresholds and points that we're looking at on the series points. First is going to be that top 50, which currently is an estimated 600 points. And then it's that top 250 after that to make the lower bracket semis, which in terms of series points is around estimated 130 or so points. So it's definitely possible for a lot of these players to squeak in. But with that being a possibility, it means that there's a possibility that players can get pushed out of that same threshold. So in this last hour, people's FNCS journeys are literally on the line.
As we take a look at Thomas possibly cutting that line for some of the duos here. We just saw the match from Banw1se. Thomas did something similar earlier on, and it looks like he is not done cooking yet, as he's continuing to pick up Elim after Elim in this match, securing himself even the medallions, the mythic items, and the headshot snipes that we're so used to from this player.
Wait a minute.
His aim.
Is this a replay or a montage? Is it like we got a Thomas HD montage going down right before our very eyes? That one hit. We just didn't see it. That one hit too, though. We'll just go ahead and throw that one in there just for the fun of it. 4 eliminations so far. There's still 49 possible. I feel like they don't need a big game here, but Thomas and Queasy want a big game.
Look, I don't even know what they want. They just look like they're having a good time now, wandering around. Does Thomas even know that there's a duo in front of him inside of that box? As you got to be careful, as you might get a little overconfident here. Has been cracked, 72 HP now. Take a breather. You have the medallion. You have a big pot. You can recuperate that shield you lost. Queasy's just fine. No need to get nervous here. But I wouldn't be surprised if after they heal up, they get right back into it and continue the fight.
Yeah, especially since it looks like there's like a third team just outside of Lavish Layer that's shooting shots in that direction, baking the builds, which they're just trying to force them closer and closer together while getting a surge and potentially taking the team out. Flowberry Fizz is going to be used for Thomas and Queasy. They're either going to rotate or still try to finish this fight, and I think it's going to be the latter. Piece Control going over just like that. Fizz just getting him a little bit too high than he wanted, but back to his familiar territory. Piece Control going all the way over. Shots bleeding through the builds as well. Thomas and Queasy, the aggression is just out of this world, and even picking up the first of possible 2 eliminations here.
Continue with the aggression. But the opponents, they're not fans of that. They want to get out of it. They know that something's not right here. Like we said, it's the last hour. It's the last chance for a lot of these duos to make something happen and put themselves in qualifying range for the upper or lower bracket of the semifinals. Pink and Vico looking healthy with 4 elims to their name as well.
I think we got ourselves a couple superstars in this lobby with Queasy and Thomas, Pink, Vico. This one could come down to a preview of our FNCS semifinals, as Monier and Lunex just healing up right outside of zone. They have the Fizz crash pad, 4 rotates, which means they're gonna waste no time actually getting into the zone when they finally make that rotation to come through. Even looks like they might save it and keep the resources for later.
Fizzing up once again, combining that with the crash pad to fly through the skies here and land right onto Cobra. Turning into a Cobra, almost there with the quick attack from above. As now the third parties are listening. They're hearing the shots and they're taking some from afar as Linux has gone down. Duo partner has been knocked. What's the decision here? Do you keep applying that pressure? Do you try and pick up your duo? 71 cracked. The aggression could come through. Doesn't decide to pick him up just yet. There it is now. Brought him back a couple boxes, but the more time you take, the more your opponents are going to heal up. Making use of that time, though, to recuperate his shield.
Yeah, you see him just trying to make space See his teammate drop all the resources in the mats as well, just trying to give him more to work with, knowing that he is by himself. There's no use saving it with the hope that your teammate's going to win. Cobra from one angle. His teammate is taking another. They're just slowly but surely putting pressure, forcing him back towards the zone as well. His options for Banw1se are slowly but surely running out. His only saving grace here is going to be being able to outlast 40 seconds to the zone, pushes everybody forward.
Cobra continuing now, getting closer and closer. He has picked up his duo partner though, so it's back to a 2v2, but will the med kit get popped? Will the shields get popped? 22 seconds, and the zone starts closing. The more time they take, the more risky it gets. Their opponents are already rotating to the zone. You can see it on the mini-map in the bottom right. As this might not just be worth it, as now the opportunity opens up. Teammate dropped again, 1 versus 2. Put at the disadvantage. Banw1se has to play extra aggressive here, and that might have just been the play he needed. Hits the first shot, unable to connect the second though, as now he gets cracked. It's not looking good. Taken out, both players eliminated.
Oh, it's a tough fight and a tough position. It almost creates a situation, even for Cobra and his duo, to almost a no-win scenario. All of their heals used, a couple of minis left, a lot of materials expended, and they still have so much distance to cover. And when they finally get there, it is one of the most stacked sides of the zone as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can survive that. But from one team that's having struggles to one that might not be going through those same struggles, Bevy and Banw1se, 761 above the damage threshold. They got themselves a crevice on the edge of zone as well with 4 eliminations. It's all about the waiting game before they have to rotate again.
You can see all the players on the north side of the zone here. Some of them now, depending on where this 8th zone closes, we'll have to make a far rotate. We'll see now. Swizzy Putrick up above still. Pink Vico continuing their tarp, and now we can see that it's pulled southwest. Good rotate for the players on the uncongested side by the south side of the river there. But for the players who are in the pack up north, a lot of danger can arise from this rotation.
I feel like I hear the communication coming out. It almost looked like they wanted to drop on that player below, but they see in the distance everybody that has to make that journey slowly but surely coming over the top of that mountain right into their hands. And Pink and Vico have the choice: do I continue to spray back, stagger myself, or stay ahead of the zone? They definitely have a decision here, because if they act quickly, they could be the first team to try to take over high ground.
Skymute, Zara, Radion. Actually, this is a duo here that did not compete in week 1, round 4. So they need some big matches here if they want to have a good chance to make it to the semifinals, even the upper bracket. 554 above though. They have the damage they need to feel confident here, but there's still so much more to do to clean up the rest of this match.
It's only about 10 seconds left. The zone comes in. A lot of these players just peeking through a lot of the cones, getting information of where everyone's positioned at, trying to pinpoint the layer change that everybody's been making before this next pull. And if this one goes towards the north, it's going to go down elevation, a little bit of an eastern pull as well, over some water. So if you don't have that grapple blade or some way to rotate, you make sure you have materials, because this one's going to be a roller coaster.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a waterfall down the ridge here into the stream, as Swizzy making sure both players are good, healthy, enough consumables. And look at this. Thomas HD Queasy up in the clouds, a sight I'd like to see. Reminder from the past, as 6 elims to Thomas's name, 3 for Queasy. This could be a huge match.
Yeah, we've already seen them perform very, very well on that low ground. Now we're seeing the turn, the high ground, a position that Queasy very specifically is more familiar with. Oh, narrow miss there from Thomas HD with that snipe shot. And a nice shot towards the backside of the zone on the replay. He not only gets 1, but he picks up 2 of those eliminations on the backside of zone. I'm not sure Thomas can be stopped at this point in time.
Zara looking to retake high ground from the duo, but we know how confident they are playing high ground. Queasy leading. The duo's the IGL, knows how to maintain it. But it looks like it's going to be a difficult fight as they continue playing for it. Zara versus Thomas, as Thomas has now been taken down to 36 shield. Will they take the disengagement here? Zara's cracked. 21 gets knocked. Advantage now for the opponents as Queasy might have just done it, but his duo partner has been split. Regroup now, continuing to build back up, and they have it once again, but no materials to work with.
Yeah, immediately find a player that's a solo by himself, gets the med kit as well. Queasy for a moment there just trying to stagger himself back, trades the flopper for the med kit, even more health for the heal off win scenario if it comes down to it, while simultaneously taking that high ground. Pax4nchik and Swizzy, they can't have that same comfortability. They're stuck down low in the mud, but they're doing a good job of staying ahead of everybody else, staying towards the left, but it's the layer above them. There's so many teams that they have to watch out.
Gotta be careful here. Players looking back, holding them, making sure they can stay ahead of the zone here. And just like that, crawling through the dirt, making their way to the front side as Bevy, to Elim's duo partner taken out. Forced as a solo, has that frenzy auto shotgun. Crucial for these late game moments. 24 builds to work with, now getting closer and closer to high ground, putting himself second height. Want to be careful, not a good way to conserve materials as he's forced back down below on the ridge now. So many duos close by.
Yeah, a lot of his materials being expended. Even gets aggressed on, forced down low, 7 HP. Without a lot of time, he's just staggering himself, causing a lot of chaos, even blind firing the sniper to try to weaken the builds to make it easier to move through. He does a good job momentarily being able to stay alive, but without HP, without materials, that timer that he's living on right now is ticking.
Oh, and Queasy has gone down. Thomas HD forced into solo. The high ground has been overthrown by Janice and Flixie. They are the kings of height in this match, as now another elimination picked up, but Janice gets knocked down. 2 Elims on the board, but Flixie now forced as a solo above with no materials to work with is going to need to drop here.
Yeah, and you see him looking around behind him. He knows somebody's in the backside of zone trying to heal off, and those are the things you have to watch out for, especially without builds. Banw1se down below. Him and his duo are the ones who took down Yanis. And it makes it an interesting decision for Flixie because he's given up very, very little audio cues. I think they finally seen him right there at the tail end, but they're not trying to worry about him. Toxic, Flixie is doing a good job of just getting these placement points as a solo.
Do they know? Do they know that Flixie's right on top of them? Will they look at high ground? They don't even know it yet, but they basically have it. All they'd have to do is look up and take that 2 versus 1. Meanwhile, players on all layers thinking, planning, how are we gonna get that heal off? Who has the most med kits? What's the correct decision here? Flixie forced down, has to get an elimination, gets a 108 knock, but taken out. Now, Nippa has one more med kit to work with. Who is gonna come out on top for the heal off? And it looks like it's gonna be Pax and his duo partner.
Yeah, that is a huge win. I felt like there was more fighting in that end game than we've seen so far. Even though it did come down to the heal off, everybody knows their roles. One person plays med kits and floppers, the other one goes on the hunt, and that was a well-placed couple of shots to not only find the opponents but weaken them to make it a possibility.
A lot of the duos in this match decided to play that heal off a bit early. Could be that with those zones, they decided to take or used up a lot of the materials, and it caused them to just play the med kit early. And the end game, I mean, it did not last as long as the previous heal offs at all, Jacob.
Yeah, it almost looked easy, and he was on his last med kit as well. So good job for him being able to close that one out. And you saw throughout the course of that game, Takata, high ground, it was about 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams that changed hands from 9th zone onward. And it just goes to show how risky players are willing to play in order to get those points. But with such a few games left on the day, I'm going to throw it over to Des to let us know where everybody stands.